Now we will see that how the regulation of urine formation takes place. Now it's a very simple phenomenon that we know that the hormones are actually chemical messenger playing important role in our body, right? They're playing important role. Okay, and these are basically a signaling molecule. These are basically a signaling molecule playing a very important role. Okay, now in case of a regulation of urine formation, we have four major hormones. Okay, the first is ADH, antidiuretic hormone, that is also known as vasopressin. Number two is aldosterone, which is released from adrenal cortex and is a type of a mineralocorticoid. Okay, then the third is basically ANF. Okay, this is basically natriuretic factor. Okay, and of course we also having certain hormone that is actually angiotensin 2. Okay, so these are the four people who are basically working hand in hand to regulate the urine formation. Now then we will try to understand one by one how such kind of hormones shows the action. Okay, now first we will talk about the antidiuretic antidiuretic hormone. Okay, so this hormone is actually responsible for absorption of water from collecting tubule and DCT. Now we know what these two regions. Okay, these are highly permeable for water due to the presence of aquaporins. Okay, now actually this area is basic. These two areas are under the influence of the ADH, that is also known as a vasopressin. Okay, now we know that we should how the from where this hormone is actually releasing. So ADH is basically releasing from posterior pituitary. Okay, it is releasing from posterior pituitary, or we can know this region very well, neurohypophysis. That region also known as a neurohypophysis. Okay, so we know that this kind of is your hypothalamus. Okay, here is your two lobe of the pituitary gland. This is basically adenohypophysis, and this is neurohypophysis. So actually the hormone is synthesized by the hypothalamus, but is actually accumulate here in the neurohypophysis, and once it will determine the osmotic gradient outside this area. Let's consider now that I have such kind of surrounding in the pituitary gland. Okay, and if the surrounding cell, the interstitial fluid in the surrounding cell, okay, this is basically the interstitial fluid surrounding, okay, become hypertonic. अब मतलब ये हुआ कि अगर पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी न्यूरोहाइपोफाइसिस के सराउंडिंग में अगर, या फिर हाइपोथैलेमस के सराउंडिंग में अगर जो इंटरस्टिशियल फ्लूइड रहता है सेल के बीच में, अगर वो हाइपरटोनिक हो जाए, कैसा हो जाए, हाइपरटोनिक हो जाए, तो फिर क्या होता है कि जो आपका न्यूरोहाइपोफाइसिस है उसको स्टिमुलेट किया जाता है। अब न्यूरोहाइपोफाइसिस जैसे स्टिमुलेट होता है, it release hormone ADH. Okay, it release hormone ADH in a blood, and we know that hormone are highly specific to the to the way they act. Okay, मतलब ये अपने बिल्कुल प्रॉपर उसी पोजीशन पे एक्शन दिखाएंगे जहाँ पे हमको जाना है. So from the blood it reach to the collecting tubule and DCT where they shows action, and once they shows action on collecting tubule and DCT, they allow absorption of water in this region. Okay, meaning for the activation of ADH or for the release of ADH, we should have concentration of interstitial fluid hypertonic. This should be hypertonic, then it is possible. Okay, now then let's consider that under what influence the ADH is actually released. What are the things we want actually for the release of the ADH? Okay, so for that purpose, the first thing is that water content of body should low. Water content of body should low. Okay, then and then only it is possible that it will release from the neurohypophysis. Okay, now you also need to keep in mind alcohol consumption inhibit release of ADH. Alcohol consumption inhibit release of ADH. Even maximum amount of tannin and caffeine also interfere with the release of ADH. मतलब अगर आप कॉफ़ी ज़्यादा पीते हैं, अगर आप टैनिन ज़्यादा पीते हैं, तो भी ADH रिलीज नहीं होगा, इसको रिलीज होने से रोक दिया जाएगा. अल्कोहल कंजम्पशन अगर करेंगे, इससे भी ADH रिलीज होने से रुक जाएगा. अब इसका परिणाम क्या होगा? देखो, ADH अगर रिलीज नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा? वाटर लॉस हैपेंस. पानी एब्सॉर्ब होगा क्या? नहीं, ना कलेक्टिंग ट्यूब्यूल पे पानी एब्जॉर्ब होगा, ना DCT में एब्जॉर्ब होगा, जिसके कारण जो आपकी यूरिन जो है, यूरिन बिकम डाइल्यूट. यूरिन बिकम डाइल्यूट. बट ऐसा ADH का रिलीज कम होगा या फिर स्टॉप होगा, वो तभी हो सकता है जब आप अल्कोहल बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में कंज्यूम करें. टैनिन जो है और कैफीन है, वो अगर ज़्यादा मात्रा में लेंगे तो पॉसिबल है. ठीक है. नाउ वी आल्सो हैविंग सम ड्रग्स नोन एज डायूरेटिक्स. अब ऐसे कुछ ड्रग्स भी है जिनको हम कहते हैं डायूरेटिक्स. ओके. नाउ ये जो डायूरेटिक्स जो ड्रग्स होते हैं, है ना, ये क्या करते हैं? दे एक्चुअली प्रोड्यूस डाइल्यूट यूरिन. फिर डाइल्यूट यूरिन हम क्यों प्रोड्यूस करना चाहेंगे? अब बहुत बार ऐसे ड्रग्स किसको दिए जाते हैं? बहुत बार क्या होता है, एक डिसीज होता है, इसको क्या कहते हैं हम? एडेमा. क्या कहते हैं इसको अपन, है ना. अब एडेमा के कारण क्या हो सकता है ना, 2-3 चीज़ें हो सकती है. देखो, इससे हार्ट फेलियर भी हो सकता है, आपका हार्ट फेल हो सकता है. ठीक है. इसके अलावा ब्लड प्रेशर हाई रह सकता है, और आप तो जानते हो ब्लड प्रेशर का हाई रहना मतलब हाइपरटेंशन हो जाना. हाइपरटेंशन से आपको और क्या हो सकता है? हाइपरटेंशन लीड्स टू हीमोरेज. ब्लड हीमोरेज होगा, ब्रेन में हीमोरेज हो जाएगा. ठीक है. तो इस चीज़ को रोकने के लिए, देखो एडेमा रहा था तो क्या होता है, इंटरस्टिशियल फ्लूइड में जो वाटर कंटेंट होता है, पानी जो होता है बहुत ज़्यादा अप हो जाता है, पानी बहुत ज़्यादा भर जाता है. ठीक है. अब अगर ऐसा हो जाए तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? हमें पानी को बाहर निकालना पड़ेगा, है ना. तो ऐसे डिसीजेस में रिमूवल ऑफ वाटर इज एसेंशियल. फिर ऐसे ड्रग्स दिए जाते हैं, डायूरेटिक्स नामक क्या होते हैं? ड्रग्स दिए जाते हैं. ठीक है. तो ऐसे केस में क्या होता है? डायूरेटिक्स के कारण ADH का इनिबिशन हो जाता है. ADH अगर इनिबिट हो जाता है तो क्या होगा? वाटर लॉस. और वाटर लॉस होगा तो यूरिन कैसी आएंगी? डाइल्यूट यूरिन आएंगी. मतलब कभी कभी हमें जानबूझ के भी कुछ ड्रग्स के थ्रू यूरिन को डाइल्यूट बनाना पड़ता है. नेचुरली तो वो ऐसे होती है, अगर अल्कोहल कंजम्पशन ज़्यादा हुआ, टैनिन कंजम्पशन ज़्यादा हुआ तो यूरिन ज़्यादा होगी. ठीक है. तो ये था केस ADH कैसे रिलीज होता है। नाउ देयर इज वन मोर केस, एक और केस है, इसको हम कहते हैं diabetes insipidus. Now this disease is basically a very dreadful disease. Diabetes insipidus. Okay. Now here, general our urine formation is basically the volume of urine per day is 1.5 लीटर। मैं एवरेज बता रहा हूँ आपको, 1.5 लीटर यूरिन दिन में होनी चाहिए। पर ये 1.5 लीटर यूरिन तब होंगी जब आपका रीएब्जॉर्प्शन का जो फिनोमिनन होता है नेफ्रॉन में वो अच्छे से होगा, और वो पॉसिबल किसके वजह से है? एडीएच की वजह से है। जब डायबिटीज इंसिपिडस होता है, ठीक है, तो जो यूरिन आउटपुट होता है, यूरिन आउटपुट जो होता है वो कितना होता है? 20 to 25 लीटर। तो आप सोच सकते हैं इस डिसीज में 20 to 25 लीटर का यूरिन आउटपुट होगा। और अगर ऐसा होता है तो जो यूरिन आपकी 1.5 लीटर जो थी, वो यूरिन जो थी वो तो नॉर्मल वॉल्यूम था, लेकिन अभी अगर इतना अगर लीटर अगर आपका यूरिन जाएगा तो ऐसे केस में पर्सन फील थर्स्टी, मतलब उसको बहुत ज़्यादा प्यास लगेंगी, ठीक है। और दूसरी बात, ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट सिम्टम्स है किसी अगर इंसान को बहुत ज़्यादा प्यास लगती है, सो इट्स the patient may have this such kind of disease, diabetes insipidus. So we now understand that what is the action of ADH. तो अगर मैं संक्षिप्त में बोलूँ तो ADH का काम क्या है, कि ADH का काम क्या है? तो it increase blood volume. Now the next hormone is aldosterone. Okay, now this hormone is basically released by outer layer of adrenal gland. Okay, and this outer layer is basically its cortex, the region of cortex. Okay, aldosterone is one of the mineralocorticoid. This is one of the mineralocorticoid, and the release of aldosterone is basically according to the the release, keep in mind the release of aldosterone is a negative feedback mechanism. Negative feedback mechanism, right? This is negative feedback mechanism. Now, what time this basically hormone release? Now keep in mind this basically involved in sodium absorption. Such hormone actually required for sodium absorption. Now keep in mind sodium and water are in a very important relation. If the sodium get reabsorbed, water also get reabsorbed. Okay, and this hormone is basically involved in the absorption of sodium. Okay, now let's consider if in my blood I have plenty amount of aldosterone, aldosterone, meaning the quantity of aldosterone hormone is maximum, then of course reabsorption of sodium in nephron is also high. Reabsorption of sodium in the nephron is high. Okay, now why such kind of sodium we need to reabsorb, and when such kind of things happen? Now we have situation 1, when such type of hormones is maximum in the blood. Okay, now if let's consider the situation all the sodium, okay, all the sodium in the filtrate, in the filtrate. Which filtrate I'm talking about? I'm talking about nephric filtrate, okay. Or let's consider that the sodium, okay, sodium in the filtrate is less, okay, sodium in the filtrate is less, or in the blood it is get less. At that time the aldosterone should release, so sodium level of the blood should be less for the release of aldosterone, okay. Now if we retain, मतलब अगर हम सोडियम को बचा के ब्लड में रखते हैं, रिटेनिंग ऑफ सोडियम इन ब्लड, ओके, increases osmotic pressure of blood plasma. कीप इन माइंड, अगर हम सोडियम को बचाते हैं तो आपके ब्लड में सोडियम ज़्यादा रहेगा, ठीक है। मान के चलो कि अगर आपके बॉडी में ब्लड में सोडियम ज़्यादा है, मतलब पानी भी ज़्यादा रहेगा, ओके। मैक्सिमम सोडियम, मैक्सिमम वाटर, ओके। तो फिर ब्लड का ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर मेंटेन करने के लिए बहुत ही ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट होता है, ठीक है। तो फिर एल्डोस्टेरॉन कब नहीं रहता है, ओके, व्हेन एल्डोस्टेरॉन एब्सेंट, कब एब्सेंट रहेगा? इफ वी हैव मोर सोडियम इन nephric filtrate. If we have a more sodium in nephric filtrate, maximum amount of sodium in nephric filtrate excrete out सोडियम, ओके। अगर सोडियम ज़्यादा होता है नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में तो क्या होगा? ऐसे सोडियम को बाहर निकाल दिया जाएगा, है ना। उसके दौरान आपके पास एल्डोस्टेरॉन बहुत कम या फिर नेग्लिजिबल क्वांटिटी में रहता है, ठीक है। ये हो गया सिचुएशन नंबर 2, ठीक है। अगर हम एक सिचुएशन नहीं, एक ऐसी कंडीशन, प्रैक्टिकल कंडीशन अगर हम मान के चलते कि विल रिमूव एड्रिनल ग्लैंड फ्रॉम एनी एनिमल, अगर मैं किसी भी एनिमल के एड्रिनल ग्लैंड रिमूव कर लूँगा तो क्या होगा? एक्सक्रीशन ऑफ सोडियम विल maximum sodium will excrete out if I will remove the adrenal gland, ओके। तो आप समझ सकते हो कि एल्डोस्टेरॉन के रोल क्या है। सिचुएशन 1 मैंने बताया आपको कि जब सोडियम कम रहे, नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में सोडियम कैसा रहे? कम रहे, तब एल्डोस्टेरॉन ज़्यादा रिलीज होता है, ठीक है। रिटेनिंग ऑफ सोडियम इन ब्लड इंक्रीजेस ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर ऑफ ब्लड प्लाज्मा। नाउ दिस इज सम इम्पोर्टेंट फिनोमेनन, बट जो आपको याद रखना है वो ये है जो मैंने ऊपर लिखा है कि जब सोडियम कम रहेगा नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में तब एल्डोस्टेरॉन का कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ज़्यादा रहेगा ब्लड में, ठीक है। सिचुएशन 2 क्या थी कि जब एल्डोस्टेरॉन एब्सेंट रहेगा, तो एल्डोस्टेरॉन एब्सेंट कब रहेगा? जब हमारे पास सोडियम जो है वो नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में ज़्यादा है। सोडियम कैसा है यहाँ पे? ज़्यादा है। तो सोडियम अगर ज़्यादा है तो डेफिनेटली उसको एक्सक्रीट आउट करना पड़ेगा। तो ऐसे वक्त में हम तो सोडियम को बचा नहीं सकते। तो अगर सोडियम को बचाना नहीं, उसको यूरिन में अगर जाने देना है तो आपको एल्डोस्टेरॉन को रिलीज नहीं करना पड़ेगा। तो कब रिलीज नहीं होगा और कब रिलीज होगा, ये दो इंपॉर्टेंट फिनोमेना। नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में सोडियम कम होगा, तो एल्डोस्टेरॉन ज़्यादा, नेफ्रिक फिल्ट्रेट में सोडियम बहुत ज़्यादा होगा तो एल्डोस्टेरॉन न के बराबर या फिर कम ही रहेगा। ठीक है, दिस थिंग्स यू हैव टू रिमेंबर। और वो कहाँ से रिलीज होता है ये याद रखना, एड्रिनल ग्लैंड के कॉर्टेक्स से। ठीक है, नाउ आई विल रब दिस। ओके, आपने इस सभी पूरे चीज़ को एक बार लिख लेना है, टू राइट दिस ऑन। Okay, I will now go to the third hormone. The third hormone we know that known as angiotensin 2. Okay, now we will first understand कि angiotensin 2 form कैसे होता है. Okay, first we will try to understand how the angiotensin 2 form. Okay, so it's important to understand कि angiotensin 2 बनता कैसे है, पहले वो समझ लेना जरूरी है। ठीक है, so first we will try to understand formation of angiotensin 2. Now this is basically a powerful vasoconstrictor. We can say this is the powerful vasoconstrictor. Okay, this is powerful vasoconstrictor. Now how is this basically formed? Now in actual thing is that when we have our nephron like this, we have our PCT like this. Okay, and here we have our loop of pillar, and our DCT is actually making cross section with the Malpighian body. Okay, DCT is making cross section with the Malpighian body. Now here you can say this is the PCT, this is loop of Hinel, and this particular portion is ascending loop of Hinel, this is descending, and this particular portion is a DCT, and here somewhere there is a collecting duct. Okay, now in this case what you see that this DCT is basically making cross section with the Malpighian body. At that time, some sort of a cells form here. Okay, some here near afferent arteriole. Okay, will form some cell here near the afferent arteriole. You saw here that some cells here that are basically where very important and are very vicinity to the afferent arteriole. Okay, now these blue color cells are basically known as juxtaglomerular cell, and now this juxtaglomerular cell involving release of renin. When the renin release, when the hydrostatic pressure in afferent arteriole become, let's consider 50 millimeter of mercury. Normally it's 60 millimeter of mercury, but if it happens to say that it is 50 millimeter of mercury, then renin release from the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, this renin then convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Okay, angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Then angiotensin 1 converted into angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, it released from where it released? It released from lungs. Okay, it released from lungs. Now once this angiotensin 2 form, this is known as a powerful vasoconstrictor, known as powerful vasoconstrictor. So what it will do, it will actually decrease. Let's consider the initial diameter of afferent arteriole was this, and now once the action of angiotensin 2, the diameter of afferent arteriole become decrease. Okay, so now what happens, the pressure in the, now here when the diameter was of this size, the pressure was 50 millimeter of mercury. Now once the vasoconstriction occur, the pressure will become normalized 60 millimeter of mercury due to the vasoconstriction. So that is actually the function of angiotensin 2. Okay, so this particular conversion, the conversion of renin, the formation of renin from the juxtaglomerular cells, and conversion of angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and conversion of angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2 with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme which release from lungs. This particular phenomenon is known as RAS. Okay, that is known as a RAS. Okay, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. This particular phenomenon is known as a RAS, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Okay, now so now I hope you understand the function of the aldosterone, antidiuretic hormone, and of course angiotensin 2. Okay, now what are the other roles of angiotensin 2? Is angiotensin 2 is also involved in doing some certain other stuffs? So we will try to understand point wise what it actually do. Okay, the first thing is that angiotensin 2 is peptide hormone. Keep in mind that this is peptide hormone. This is peptide hormone. Okay, and angiotensin 2 is active form. Okay, the first thing is that it increase release of aldosterone. The first thing is that it increase the release of aldosterone. Now what happens if the aldosterone release in high quantity, sodium absorption increase. Okay, and if the sodium absorption increase, water absorption also increase, meaning blood volume get maintained, right? Simple. So this is the first function of the angiotensin 2, that it increase the release of aldosterone, which ultimately help in sodium reabsorption, and ultimately water get reabsorbed in the blood, so to maintain the blood volume. Okay, then I will write here, I am not having that much of space, so I will rub some space, and then we will write there too. Okay, here I will rub this space. Okay, you write this down. Okay, so now now the second function is it actually raises blood pressure. It actually raises blood pressure. Okay, by constricting blood vessel. Okay, this is mainly happens in afferent arteriole. I told you that initial diameter was this of afferent arteriole, and once this action takes place, the diameter get decreased, which cause blood pressure to get increase in the afferent arteriole, so as to normalize the pressure to 60 millimeter of mercury. Okay, simple. So that was the second function. Now we have now the third function. Let's consider the third function. Okay, the third function It also stimulate sodium reabsorption in TCT. Okay, the proximal convoluted tubule has active absorption of sodium near about 75%. So that 75% increased to near about 90% because at this time we want to save the water, and to save the water we have to save the sodium. Okay, even this angiotensin 2 causes or I can say that it actually stimulates the posterior pituitary gland, posterior pituitary gland to release ADH. Now you know the function of ADH, that it helps in the absorption of water. Okay. Now sometime doctors in the medical field, okay, sometimes doctors in the medical field uh, use what I could say, they use the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. Okay, they use the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. I can call them as the ACE inhibitors. What are these angiotensin converting enzyme uh, receptor or inhibitor? Sorry, that what they do, they block. To which they block? They actually block production of angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2. But why we are actually blocking the angiotensin 2 production? The main question actually here is that why we are blocking the angiotensin 2, angiotensin converting enzyme, which converting angiotensin 1. Here you can say that angiotensin 1 converted into angiotensin 2 with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme. We are blocking this angiotensin converting enzyme. Why it is so? Okay, so such inhibitor given to normalize blood pressure. Okay, what happens if we will stop the angiotensin to release? No sodium absorption. Okay, no sodium absorption takes place. So there is no sodium, there is no water. Okay, and that's why we are using this angiotensin converting inhibitors. Okay, so this is the third hormone, aldosterone. Okay, now comes to the fourth hormone. Okay, the fourth hormone is basically, now I'll rub this all. You can write it in your book, or elsewhere. If you can't write, then keep in mind and how the action is basically taking place. Now comes to the now comes to the hormone known as natri natriuretic peptide, natriuretic peptide. Okay, now this hormone is basically also very important. This is also actually involved in normalize the blood pressure. It releases from atrium of heart, releases from atria of heart. This hormone is basically released from atria of a heart. Okay, and help in or I can say they increase sodium secretion. They increase the sodium secretion. Now let's consider if they are increasing the sodium secretion. meaning the sodium loss in urine. Okay, sodium get loss in urine. Okay, and if the sodium get loss in the urine, of course water loss in the urine, and if water loss in the urine, blood pressure decrease. Okay, blood pressure decrease. Now now when such a hormone we require, antiuretic peptide. Okay, anti-natriuretic atrial diuretic peptide, when we require such type of a hormone. Okay, uh, when let's consider atrial atria get stretch. Now when atria get stretch, if atria of the heart are getting more volume of the blood. Okay, if atria getting more volume of blood, they get stretched, and if the atria get stretched, then they release the adrenatriuretic factor. Adrenatriuretic factor, and such an adrenatriuretic factor has following physiological effect. Having some sort of a physiological effect, I will discuss it here one by one. Okay, now first is that it increases glomerular filtration rate, or glomerular filtration. They increase glomerular filtration. They increase glomerular filtration. Then how then glomerular filtration is basically uh, in the maximum quantity, that it is possible by increasing. Let's consider this was the afferent arteriole, diameter was of this much. Now once this hormone get act, the diameter get increase, which ultimately, if afferent arteriole have a diameter of this, the filtration will be in the maximum quantity. The filtration will be in the maximum quantity. So we can increase the glomerular filtration by dilating afferent arteriole. Okay, so here we have a dilation of afferent arteriole. Okay, now the third phenomenon will come, that it is basically I can say that it works opposite to RAS. So we know that what is RAS? That RAS is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. The main objective of this is basically to save sodium, okay, to save water. The main objective is save sodium, save water, and this hormone ANF is basically working opposite to RAS. Okay, so working opposite to RAS. Always keep in mind, even ANF inhibit release of renin. It inhibit release of renin from juxtaglomerular cells. It release renin. Okay, release. Inhibit the release of renin from juxtaglomerular cells, and of course, it also inhibit ADH release. So if there is no ADH, of course there is no water. If there is no RAS, of course there is no water. So meaning that the only aim of this is basically ANF is to remove water as much as possible, remove sodium. So if there is a release of a sodium, of course there is a release of a water also. Get it? So RAS, and so I can say that ANF is working oppositely to RAS. Simple. So this is basically the effect of hormones. So such kind by certain regulation of such kind of hormone, uh, we can maintain the GFR, we can maintain the fluid volume. Okay, so this is how the hormonal action takes place. Okay, so that's all from the hormonal background. Okay, thank you so much. We will have some sort of questions later on.